We start off by fueling up. Upon leaving the fuel dock, we notice that something isn't right. The boat isn't reacting when I turn the helm. In other words, I had no steering. With 3 months of boat hell behind us, there was no way I was going to turn around to try and address the problem here. I quickly realized that the problem was the hydraulic steering. I could, however, pilot the boat using the autopilot system as it was responsive, so the show went on. It was a beautiful day. We couldn't have asked for better conditions, but this 4-hour trip to Marathon was pure hell. Let me explain why. Through the course of about 45 miles, we had to navigate through what felt like 400,000 to 500,000 lobster tracks strung every which way in tight groups, which on a normal day is pretty crappy. Without having steering, this was anything but normal. I was left to turn the boat in 1 or 10-degree increments to dodge things using the autopilot. It was like a video game from hell, which had real-world consequences that you couldn't pause or turn off until you completed the multi-hour level. So to say the least, we didn't record much as this was an extremely stressful trip, and I was mentally and physically worn out by the time we made it to Marathon since I couldn't sit or relax at any point. We tried as best as we could to relax for the evening before setting off early the next morning, but we were absolutely rocked in the middle of the night by a big storm that rolled in from the open sea with 50+ knot winds. It was quite the scene at 1 a.m. with all the boaters on our dock coming out to secure their items in their boats as best as they could, with the winds howling and lightning lighting up the sky as if it were daylight. One of the boats was a kids' sailing camp boat, so it was very intense, but just one of those boat life things that happens from time to time. So the next morning we set out to make a passage to Southwest Florida. We weren't sure exactly where we would end up and at least wanted to make it to Marco Island. But first we had to get out of the worst of the minefield. You can see by my frustration at the autopilot's slow response that it was another hellish couple of hours. I had to alternate between using the autopilot and the shifters to maneuver the boat until we got past the other side of the 7-mile bridge. It appeared as if the tight group of traps were starting to spread out, and I could see a point on the horizon in which I could finally begin to relax a bit. There was a shallow spot called the Red Bay Bank that we needed to be mindful of, and as we were passing it, there was one final lobster trap in a tight group. It was in the main channel with a very long line, and we couldn't avoid it, so we had to throw the boat in neutral as we passed. And sure enough, I hear banging on the bottom of the hull. It was a trap buoy tangled in our prop as we dragged the trap. So we are just a few meters away from a shoal that has grounded many boats and drifting disabled with our props tangled up. Thankfully, the wind was in our favor and we were being pushed away from the bank, buying us a little more time to work out this issue. Otherwise, this perfect storm could have had a much worse turn of events. Tiff dove in to cut the tangled trap lines loose. Since we were forced to disable the trap, we let the lobster inside free as the trap will likely become abandoned right there in the channel where it should have never been in the first place.
As we were coming up on Marco Island, we could see the storm clouds ahead and moving west towards the direction we were headed. We realized, since we were making good timing, that we would just push all the way to Fort Myers Beach. So we picked up our cruising speed and tried to get ahead of the storm. You can see how we also adjusted our course to swing out further west so that we could stay dry. Oh, okay. I guess that's better than just boat.
Yeah, a little bit.
With friends waiting for our arrival at the dock, we sure put on quite a show. Did we A, do a victory lap in celebration of arriving? B, the autopilot started spazzing out and developed a mind of its own? C, we suck at docking and blamed it on the wind and the current? Or D, get lost looking for the Marina? Drop your guesses down below in the comments.